Hello everybody, it's Heather from Handcrafted by Hev. A couple of days ago somebody commented on Facebook on the Eureka fan page that they didn't know how to make a box for their cards with lots of dimension. So I'm just going to quickly show you a tutorial of how I do my boxes and give you a formula so that you can make a box for any size card that you wish. The one I'm going to show you today is for A5 card blank, which it's not a card, it's just a card blank I've made from folding an A4 piece of card in half, but it's just to show you how the sizing works. So I measured my card blank and I have added to the smallest piece, which will be the base, 2 inches and 1/8 of an inch, so 2 1/8 of an inch to each side. So this side has become 7 7/8 and this side is 10 3/8, so it's 2 1/8 of an inch larger than the card blank. And then for the lid it's 2 1/4 inches bigger on both sides, so this one is 8 inch by 10 1/2 inch. So what we do now is score on all 4 sides at 1 inch. So this will give you a 1 inch deep box. So if your dimension was taller than 1 inch, obviously you would have to adjust your measurements to take that into account. So say if your measurements, your dimension was 1 1/2 inch, you'd need this measurement at each side to be 1 1/2 inches to get the depth on all 4 sides, so you'd need to add that onto your card blank size. I'm just going to burnish those score lines on all 4 sides. Sorry about the noise on the scoreboard. And do the same with the piece that I'm going to use as my lid. So this one is 2 1/4 inches larger. So if you needed your box to be 1 1/2 inches deep, you'd need all 4 sides to be 1 3/4 of an inch larger than your card blank. I'll move my scoreboard out of the way now, so that's all the scoring. Will not be quite so noisy. Well, having said that, the glass mat might be just as bad. Now, because this is my lid and this is totally optional, I'm going to add a little thumb hole, just a semicircle, just using a circle punch. I'm just eyeballing it and guessing where to put it, and that will just make my box easier to lift the lid off. The next thing you need to do on all 4 sides, on both the lid and the base, is cut into where the 2 score lines cross. Don't know if you can see that on camera. And then just cut a little wedge off the square at the end. You need to do that on all 4 sides. I'll show you why we're doing the little wedge cut on this one. If you cut square like that and fold it in, you don't always get a nice neat edge there. Can you see it's higher than the side? So to prevent that, if you cut your little wedge out, when you fold it in, it folds in closer and you don't get that nasty edge bit lifting up like that, which is ugly. You get a nice smooth finish. So that's why we cut the wedges in. So do that on all 4 sides. I'll just cut those on my base as well before we start gluing them together. I'll show you some others that I've made using exactly the same formula by adding the same amount onto my measurements. So I've got one for a 6 by 6 card. So I added 2 1/8 of an inch onto the 6 inches, so it was 8 1/8 of an inch on both sides, with it being a square box, and then the lid was 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. I'll show you that when I've finished putting this one together. I've also done one on a 5 by 7 card, again using the same formula, and it works every time. measure your card blank and add that amount on, and you'll get a box that is 1 inch deep to fit your card. So that gives you plenty of scope to add dimension with your builder flower dies or paper flowers that you may have in your stash, or any other embellishments you want to add onto your cards. This card I'm using for demo purposes is quite a thin card. I think it's probably less than 200 GSM this, but I would use 200, at least 200 GSM or above. If you're wanting to send it in the post, I'd use 250 or above, and I would usually put mine in a padded envelope as well, just to make sure it's safe and try and prevent it from getting squashed. I know they're a little bit more expensive when you've got dimension on for posting, but they are so lovely when you receive them at the other end. It's such a nice gift to open. You could also use this formula for making boxes for gifts as well, if you wanted to do that. Again, just adding on the appropriate dimensions for how deep you need the box to be. And if you needed it to be bigger than what you could get from a sheet of A4, you can always make them from A3 card. I've been known to do that in the past. I was once asked to make an A4 card. A lot of people needed to sign it, so I did extra inserts in it because it was going around a big office for lots of people to sign, and I needed to make a big box for that one, and that one was done out of A3 card, but the formula was exactly the same, just adding on the 2 1/8 of an inch and then 2 1/4 inches for the lid. So that's my lid, that's my base, and they fit perfectly together like that. Because this is thin card, it is bulging out. If it was thicker cardstock, it would hold its shape better and be a neater finish. So you can see it's not a massive gap, and those thumb holes just make it easy to get the lid off. I'll pop in, that's my A5 card blank, fits perfectly. And I always usually decorate the lid of my box to match the card inside also. So this is the one I made earlier. I didn't bother with the thumb holes on this one because they're not needed, and that's for a 5x7 card, just to show that the formula works for other sizes. And I also made this one, and I did put the thumb holes on this one, and this one was for a 6x6 card. So that's all I have to show you today. I hope you found that useful. Please let me know if you managed to make any boxes for your cards using this tutorial and my formula, and I will catch you all later. Thank you, bye.